I recently attended an in-person skirmish event at Cloak and Blaster, and I got 7th place. I was so happy. I've never gotten in the top 8 for any of these important tournaments, so I just want to talk about it because you know me, man, Bronson. I'm a collector. I like to collect the cards, but I like to play. I like to play the game because it's a lot of fun, and also there's a lot of great prizes you can get. And going on to that, man, I just got lucky as a skunk that day. I mean, I got a Valiant Dynamo, a Lumina Ascension alternate art, and also a Levia Cold Foil. And I got the Levia Cold Foil because I actually got into the top 8. And it was my night. And I don't want to glorify pack opening in this video. This is more of a incentivizing people to go out and play. Now, I want to tell you this. I've gone to maybe 5 or 6 other events where it was first edition Monarch opening packs. I didn't pull any legendaries or anything of hot value. I've opened 3 first edition Monarch first edition Monarch booster boxes, got nothing. I opened 3 unlimited Monarch booster boxes, got nothing. And then I opened a case of Monarch Unlimited and got nothing. So honestly, I've been on like a very big losing streak for just not opening anything really good. And honestly, I opened the packs at Cloak and Blaster for the event, and I got lucky as a skunk. And I think honestly, this happens to everyone. You know, there's gonna be a night if you keep going out to these local game stores. It's bound to happen where you get a night that's your night, unless you're Nick Murphy from Tolarian Dropouts, and every night's your night, and you pull legendaries all the time. But other than that, you know, that was my night. And then just to put up the cards, man, I'm just so happy. Like, it was a really good night. And I pulled the Valiant Dynamo in the top 8 draft. And then I pulled the Lumina Ascension in the sealed event in the beginning. And let me go over my night. I'll explain how it all went down. And I'll explain how these skirmish events go down. Because literally, man, I want to incentivize all you guys out there. Go to these events. If it's in your comfort level at this time to go out and attend these events, it's really good idea. I mean, not only do you know, can you have chances of winning really cool cards and, you know, cards that have value, but honestly, man, what was cool about the Cloak and Blaster is, you know, Matt Heffelfinger, shout out to him. He ran the whole thing. He was a tournament organizer. He runs the Fab Arsenal YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below to him. Really awesome guy. I consider him a really cool friend. And he basically was doing raffles after every round. So how it works is the first 5 rounds, right, are the sealed tournament. And literally after every one, he was giving out these like promo cards. And I was like, hey, $40 winner over here. And then he gave out the Command and Conquer playmat for, you know, participant. And it was like, hey, you know, $200 winner there. And there was just so many times where you could at least get like $40 from like promo cards just for just having a pulse and like being in the room. If you had those 2 things, then you literally could win all these things. And honestly, there's so many different prizes that were given out during the event. It was a total of 28 people. And let me tell you how the night started out. And basically, I opened my cards. I got the Lumina Ascension, and I was just like floored. I got a lot of really crazy pulls. I think I pulled like four Majestics or 5 out of 6 packs. And how it works is in the beginning of the tournament, you have a sealed event, right? And it's 5 rounds, and then you cut to top 8. Now, what's important about the sealed event is you get 6 packs, and this is the same with the calling event that happened recently over there in New Zealand. Like, they have this event type where it's structured to where the first 5 or 6 rounds are sealed, but then the top 8 moves into the draft format, which is really cool. So I start out the night, right? Sit down, you know, my ass in the chair. Matt gave me my packs from the Fab Arsenal. He was like, hey, here you go, Bronson. Here's the 6 packs. Good luck. Opened them up. I got insane value out of the packs. I had a lot more chain cards. I felt like Runeblade was definitely the way to go. And especially because I had the scythe, and man, I love that scythe. Because basically you pitch a blue, and you attack, and it attacks for 3, and it does 1 rune chant damage, and they literally can't do anything about that damage, so it's like literally like, you know, eating away at their health. I really like that weapon, and whenever I get it, I usually try to play chain, because I play more of defensive chain, which is probably not smart to do, and I attack. And basically, I open all my packs, right? And I just like to open them out, and then I structured them out. You know, I put them in different piles, and I saw that I wanted to play Runeblade. And honestly, man, how I construct my deck is very simple in sealed. It's the basic. It's the most basic way. You put all your generics in a pile, and you take out like maybe the instance. Like sometimes you take out the memorial grounds because they don't really block for much. I don't really like them. I don't really like rise above and rise above blue especially. Yellow and red I usually keep. But blue I throw out. There's choice cards that I exclude, but most of the cards that I get in generic I'll use in my deck. And then after that, after I have that pile, I'll look at the different piles of the classes and choose what I want. And I chose Runeblade. So literally, I took the Runeblade pile, generic pile, put them together, and I have my deck. And it's like, I think people definitely go into a lot more like thought processes and analysis on what they should include or not include. But in my experience, I think it's just good to include most of the stuff because honestly, I've seen a lot of people like deck out, and I don't want to do that. It's very common in sealed to do that. So that's how I made my Runeblade deck, and they started the first round, and I went up against an opponent that was new to the game, but he's a really cool guy, really nice. He had a beer, and he was just very cordial. And my stance on new players is odd. Like I don't want to tell them how to beat me, but I also don't want to be a dick. So how I handle it nowadays is like if they play a card, right, and they don't know what it does, I'll explain the card to them and I'll tell them like, hey, this is how it works and here's how it functions. I think a couple times he played a card and he didn't know how good it was. I was like, oh, this is actually really good because when you play this, it actually does this effect instead of the effect that you said. So if they play a card and they didn't know something, I just I let them know what it is, even if they don't play it absolutely correctly. But what I won't do is like I won't say like, hey, if you have this card at this certain time, that's how you beat me or whatnot. I won't give directions of how to beat me, but I definitely want to explain the cards. Like, he played a couple cards and I was like, oh, this is how this works. And, oh, this card doesn't have go again, so you can't do anything after that. And if you do play cards with go again, then you can do stuff after that. So I try to be as, helpful as possible without, being too helpful. Because I want to get to the end, but all in all, I'm just having a fun time over there. But that's how I handle it, and it was cool. He learned a lot about the game, and afterwards he was like, "Whoa, that's really cool. That that this game has a lot of depth," and he was really surprised at all the mechanics and how everything worked. And he was grasping it, and I pulled out the win there. But yeah, no, it was just a fun game, and the guy was really nice. Now, second round pairing, I was actually against Andrew from Adventure Co Gaming, and honestly, I won that game out like flying out the seat of my pants. He's a very experienced player, much better than me. Honestly, I honestly I got really good pulls in my packs, and I had some really good turns. Especially one of the good turns I had was the chain specialty card is pretty broken in in sealed, man. It's just really good. Basically, you have chains specialty card, right? Which I think it costs 6, but if you literally banish one card from your hand, then it's free. So it costs 6 and attacks for 6. So you attack for 6, and it has go again because you just do the chain thing. So it attacks for 6, and if you're going up against a light hero, it gains go again regardless, so you don't even have to do the chain ability. So I attacked with that for 6, and I banished a card that cost 1. I forgot, it cost 1 and it attacked for 3, but for every shadow attack action card you banish, it it gives you 1 resource. So literally you can have 2 cards in your hand, and I attack for 6, and then after he blocked that out, I had the resource to pay for the other one and an attack for 3. So it's 9 damage with 2 cards, which is absolutely nuts. I've never seen that in another hero being able to push out that much damage that fast. And if you get that specialty card for Chain, I'd highly advise like playing it with Chain. It's very good. I mean, I definitely use it in your games. And all you have to do is keep that one and then have one card that's a Shadow Rune Blade that costs 1, and you can just pump out a ton of damage really fast. And also, if you have a full hand, you can pump out even more damage. But I think even just for that combo, it's really good. But I think I just won it by the seat of my pants. I did like one last rune chant damage at the very end, but it was an extremely close game. Um, then my third game was really tough. I went up against Chris. He's a Florida player, and I don't know his last name, man, but if you know a Chris who's really good in Florida, it's probably him. He was really good player. He pulled out a 16 damage turn, and he did like brandish like 3 frickin' times, and then did a couple other things. He was doing nutso things, and honestly, after he did that 16 damage turn, I shrugged and I was like, man, I'm not even mad that I lost this. Like, you deserve to win if you're doing a 16 damage turn in sealed. I mean, it was very impressive, and his gameplay reminds me a lot of Dante, where it's very structured. It's very, he's a nice guy. He does his stuff, but at the end of the day, like, he's very structured in everything he does, and just played a really great game, and I'm pretty sure he blew me out of the water there. Um, so at that point, I was 2-1. I had 2 wins, 1 loss. Now my fourth game, that was kind of tough. I went up against a Prism. Prism player was very good, very well seasoned. It was back and forth, back and forth. He took a lot of damage in the beginning, but quickly regained tempo with Prism. And I think that's what you have to do with Prism, is use your HP as a resource in the very beginning to gain up momentum with your or not rune chant tokens, but your shield tokens. So then you can push out more damage in the mid game. So he did a very good job. Um, at the end of the game, I was pretty much decking myself out as Chain. I was pushing a lot of damage through, and after he took a lot of damage, I was like, okay, I'm going to attack with my Scythe every turn, because it just chips away 1-1-1-1-1. And that worked out very well. And it came down to the wire, and unfortunately, he made a little misplay. Like, I had an attack action card in my hand. Or no, I had a banish card, I believe, and the banish card did a rune chant damage, right? And then my weapon also did a rune chant damage. So what I did is I did the chain ability. I attacked with my weapon. I said, hey, I'm coming in for 3. I'm doing 1 rune chant damage, right? And he blocked, and he had like 3 shields, and he blocked with most of his shields, to block the rune chant damage and the 3 physical. But the problem was, he only had 1 health point left. And then right after that, I attacked with my banished card that had rune chant damage as well. And that rune chant damage he couldn't do anything about. And it was tough, because if he had used his cards in a certain way, he could have totally blocked out, and then next turn I wouldn't be able to do anything, and he would have won the game, because he just had all these shields built up. But he just played cards in different order, and it kind of screwed up. And at one point, I feel bad, but I've been there myself. I've been there myself, where at the very end of the game I misplayed, and it just screwed me up, and I was like, oh no. And yeah, we've all been there. But at the end of the day, I don't feel bad, because what I try to do with my games is I'm very transparent, and I remember that last turn very well. What I did is, once I drew up. Once it was my turn, right, I banished the cards, and then I said, okay, here's what I have, and I knew my best chances of winning. And I literally attacked with my weapon, the Scythe. I said, I'm attacking you with Scythe, with Go again, because I chained, and I have these 2 cards in the banish zone. And I said, would you like to see them? And I handed it to him, because I know it's a little, I know it's a little sneaky of me to have, like, not all the banish cards, right, have rune chant damage, which is literally unblockable unless you have the shield or some other things. So I literally I faced the card to him and like, hey, would you like to see this? And he declined. He said no. I didn't have to do that. Honestly, when you're playing, you don't have to do that. You can be sneaky as you want. In these competitive games, we're all competing to get to the finals, and sometimes you do pull these things out of your hat, and everything is on the board, so it's up to your opponent to analyze and do that. But I'm not that much of a player, honestly. I just say things straight up. I'm like, hey, look, I'm doing this, but I could do this. So I was very transparent at the end, and he didn't want to look, and he blocked in the wrong way, and I was able to pull out the win. And even though I feel bad, honestly, it happens to all of us, but it was a great game. Honestly, he was a very good player, and I hope to play him again. He was really cool. Now going on to my next match. So what am I now? I'm 3-1. So this is the final game before the whole top cut to top 8. Because if you've been keeping track of, you have won 3, and then I lost 1. So one more game is the 5th game, and I went up against Dan, and he's a local player. I forgot his last name too, but if you know Dan from Florida, it's probably him. And he played a really solid game. I can't really say anything. I chain too much, I will say. And I did that because I was trying to listen to other people, and people were saying, hey, like when you're chain, you have to honestly just go nuts with the chain thing because you gate steam. But honestly, I didn't have that much gas with chain. And I think honestly, if you don't have that many gas cards with chain, if you don't have many reds that do a lot of stuff, I don't know if it's really smart to do your chain every single turn. In my mind, I think sometimes it's better to just like do 1 or 2 chains when you have the ability to pump out a ton of damage. If you can do like a 7 to 8 damage turn, then you chain. But if you can't do that, if you can only do like a 6 damage turn or maybe even a 5 damage turn, you don't chain because you're not really pushing that much tempo into them. So that's my philosophy. And honestly, I'm a collector, so take information from other people. But I didn't have gas. But anyway, I did chain a ton, and Dan just blocked out a bunch and with Prism and did a really good job defending. And honestly, I really just decked myself out and I lost steam at the end. But that's chain. You throw, it's literally a coin toss. Either you get gas and you just go to Pound Town, or you don't get gas and you you die. But yeah, and honestly, I've played Dan in the past. He's a very good player. He won an event recently, I believe. But yeah, he got the win out there. But what was good about this whole thing, and the reason why I did get in 7th place, and why I'm really lucky, is that the people I lost to were in the top 8. So I lost to I lost to Dan and he got into the top 8. And then earlier on, I lost to Chris and he got into the top 8. And Chris actually came out and won the whole freaking thing. So yeah, I mean that's how I was lucky, and that's why that enabled me to get into the top 8 because I was 3 wins, 2 losses. And I believe there's a couple other people with 3 wins, 2 losses, but they didn't get into the top 8 because the people who they lost to, wasn't point, the points didn't add up or whatever. But ultimately, I got into the top 8, and I was blown away. I was like, yes, this is so awesome because I've competed in all these games, and I'm not the best player in the world, so getting to the top 8, is just important to me, and I don't really care what happened after that. So when we drafted, now draft format is really cool, and I love this type of thing, and it's so much fun to get into the top 8 in draft. But how it works is you get 3 packs, and you open 1 pack at a time. So you open a pack, and then you pick 1 card from that pack, and then you pass the rest to the right or the left. And in my 2nd pack, I got a Valiant Dynamo, and I was so happy because this is my first cold foil in Monarch, and honestly, this is the one I really wanted. I didn't really care for any of the other ones. I just really like the artwork specifically, but I think the ability is just nutso. Like the value you can get in a warrior for a prolonged game in Classic Constructed with this card is insane to me. So I don't know. I just really wanted the card just for that reason, and I'm so lucky that I pulled it. And then also just getting in the top 8, I got the Levia cold foil, which was really cool. But that was in my 2nd pack, and basically how I do draft is pretty much the same as I do sealed. I focus on the generics first. Probably not the best course of action to do so. There's a lot of other better people who have experience with this, like Rob from Tolarian Dropouts, or anybody from AJ Adventure Co crew. Please, reach out to them if you want more information on a drafting and how to do it and what's the best strategies. I'm not the strategy guy. I'm more of the let's make a viable deck and do my best kind of guy. And how I did it was I pulled all the generics first, and then in my 2nd pack I got the Valiant Dynamo, and I was like, okay, I'm going Bolton, which was a really bad idea because I'm not good at Bolton at all. I can't get him to work with how I build him. So honestly, that didn't work out good. That's not a good strategy. The take it from Bronson. If you do get the cold foil card, you better keep it. If you see a cold foil card in your draft stuff, I definitely take it, but don't make that the deciding factor of playing that hero, especially because there's no real crazy card I think in the legendary slot for Monarch that really just makes it an auto go. Honestly, I think more of like if you see the chain specialization card, I forgot the name of it. It's 6 attack and it costs 6. Take that and go chain if possible. That card's nuts. If you see anything else like but the whole point of the whole draft thing is there's 8 people at your pod, right? You call it a pod, and you want to probably go. There's two main factors. Is one, whatever you pull in your first pack that's really good in that format that has really high value, you might want to consider that. But other than that, you probably want to go something where not a lot of other people are drafting. Because what happens is there's a lot more card pool availability if you get something. So like let's say you're playing Levia, the Shadow Brute, and nobody else in your pod is doing Shadow Brute. You can take a ton of Shadow Brute cards and you can just load up on that shit and it's really good. Whereas if, 4 people are playing Shadow Brute and you are too, then it's really tough. And the way you spot that is what happens is when the packs get rotated, you got to look at each card and say, okay, how many are for Brute, Runeblade, Illusionist, and Warrior? And based on that, you can kind of see, well, there's not many Warrior cards. There's like 0 Warrior cards in this. Someone's probably playing Bolton to that side of me. And that's what you have to, take into consideration and take stuff that other people aren't taking. And the whole point of it, which is really cool, is you're not allowed to tell anyone what you're doing, especially ahead of time. That's a big no-no. It's supposed to be you're going in blind, you're doing this draft, you're picking, each card from the pack without knowledge of what anyone else is doing, which is really kind of a cool format. It's really interesting. It's just a next level strategy kind of thing. So we did this. I got Valiant Dynamo in my second pack, and I'm like, okay, go Bolton, let's do this. And I got completely wiped out my first game in like the semifinals type of thing. And Chris that I played earlier in the night, he just completely wrecked me with Prism. I think Bolton has a really tough match against Prism in my mind. I could be wrong with that. I think Bolton, you really need V the Vanguard. That's a really choice card for Bolton. I mean, if you don't get V the Vanguard, it's kind of hard. That's kind of his like bread and butter card where he can just whoop ass, do a ton of damage. So I think that's a very in my mind that's kind of like the chain card. When you get that card for him, and if you have a full hand and win an arsenal, you can pump out like 20 damage in a turn, and that's what he's really meant for doing. Is just building up good resources, having the souls under his frickin' hero, having a bunch of souls, but then getting V the Vanguard, and then just playing that and just opening up a can of whoop ass. I did not have that can of whoop ass. My can was completely empty. Prism just completely destroyed me. One thing to note too, when you're playing a Prism, there's a trap. Is when they get their token out that does 4 damage, it's very common for people to want to block. You do not want to block, in my mind, because once you start blocking that Soul Shield token, you're not going to be able to pop it. And that was my problem, is that I had no way to pop it as Bolton. Now, if I'm playing Runeblade, it's easy. I play an Arcanic Crackle, and it does 1 rune chant damage, and that's going to pop that, the shield token easily and prevent that damage. But if you start blocking out those things, what's going to happen is, well, next turn, not only is Prism going to attack you with the 4 with Go Again, but attack you with the 7. And then you block everything. And then she does it again. 4, 5. And it's like 9. So it's like, in my mind, there's a trap when you're playing Prism. When they first get out that token, and you're at full health, and they attack you with that token, just take the damage. Especially if you have a really good fire turn that can just pump out like 12 or 13 damage, keep your cards. Because if you don't keep your cards and you block it out, she's just going to constantly hit you with 4, 5, 4, 6, 4, 8, you know, and even if she gets like another token, then it's like 4, 4, 5. So that's just a really good rule of thumb that I've taken when playing against Prism, because Prism's really good. And final words and thoughts is, you know, I'm just very humble. I've played in a ton of these events. I pride myself on being a collector, and I just really want to encourage anyone out there who's thinking of joining these events, but you're worried about anything. Like, you have nothing to lose. You have everything to gain. Even if you just have a pulse and you're in the building, there's raffles that you can win at. There's people you can talk to and make friends. Like, I hadn't talked to Andrew from Adventure Co Gaming for a while, and honestly, like, you know, I like, he's a really cool guy. Like, I made a really good friend there that night. Uh, you know, we were doing. I don't know. He's a cool guy. No, I made a friend, and honestly, there's just, and we were friends before that. But I'm just saying that you build relationships and all that shit. But you know, there's other stuff that you can build instead of just going there to win. And as a collector, it's really easy because I don't have anything to prove. I don't have anything to prove. I'm out there just to have fun and to get nice cards. And if I lose, it's like, okay, I'm a collector. It's all good. You know, if I win, it's like, oh, wow. Like, Bronson says he's a collector and he's making top 8. What's the deal with this? And you know, and that's how I always want to be, man. I just want to play this game for fun. For now, especially, you know, I honestly am very humble. I did get very lucky. You know, there's a couple things like that fourth game I played, especially like my opponent definitely could have taken the win there, and I wouldn't have made top 8 most likely. But you know, I just went out there and played my hardest, did my best, and you know, I did good. And honestly, I got super lucky. And honestly, I was thinking, should I go to this event? I don't know. Like, it's 40 minutes away. That's kind of far, and it's during a weekday, so it was tough for me to get out. But you know, pulling off a haul like this was so nice. Like, I was just so lucky. Like, I honestly, I'm just very happy and humbled. And like I said, I don't wanna promote like pack opening and all this stuff. Like, honestly, I've gotten so much bad luck with all my previous pulls that this kind of like nets everything out in my mind. And I'm just, and it was my night. Like I said, you know, if you go there enough, don't worry. You know, one night it's going to be your night, and you're going to pull that legendary. You're going to pull the fable, and people are going to be like, "Oh, that's crazy." So I just want to say that, you know, go out, play. It's a lot of fun, and even if you're a collector like me, you can still, you know, make top 8s. You can still do really well. You can still win really great prizes. And this was probably like again my like 6th event, and all the other events I didn't place, but I had a good time. I met people and opened packs, and it was a really fun experience. And I'm really enjoying this whole sealed format into draft. I think that's like perfect, because sealed in my mind is easier than draft because you get 6 packs and you have much more card pool. You can do whatever the heck you want. In draft format, it's hard because there's so much extra layers where you have to like see like, okay, what is other people building, and you don't have that much card pool because it's only 3 packs, and you really have to be key on what you know select as what you're gonna do. And if you go too deep in one class but then like want to change mid game, it's really tough. So you know, I think it's a really cool format that they're doing for these skirmish events, and I had a lot of fun. So that's about it for this video. Yeah, just a lot of fun, and I am definitely gonna do a lot more of these in the future. So take care out there, guys. I appreciate you watching this far and listen to me. You know, go over my tale of what happened in my skirmish event. But yeah, man, 7th place. I'll take it. And yeah, and just again, shout out to Matt Helfelfinger from the Fab Arsenal. He was a tournament organizer, and he did a fantastic job staying there really freaking late to host this event. He's a really cool guy. When he was like, you know, talking about like the raffles, like, hey, you know, Flesh and Blood players, this is coming up. And I don't know, I really enjoy events that he hosts. And shout out to Cloak and Blaster, really cool place in Florida if you're ever in town. And yeah. That's about it. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.